As Australia grapples with a severe housing crisis and soaring living costs, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has recently made headlines, not for policy initiatives, but for a lavish property purchase. The Prime Minister has acquired a stunning clifftop mansion valued at $2.9 million, a move that has raised eyebrows across the nation. While millions of Australians struggle to secure affordable housing, their leader relaxes in luxury with breathtaking views of the Central Coast. Critics argue that this decision reflects a serious disconnect from the everyday realities faced by ordinary citizens. Australia is currently experiencing a housing crisis characterized by skyrocketing property prices and a scarcity of affordable rental options. Many Australians are feeling the pinch, yet Prime Minister Albanese appears to be living in a different world, having splurged on a 4-bedroom luxury home that offers panoramic views. The timing of this purchase is particularly questionable, coming just months ahead of an election where housing affordability and the cost of living are expected to dominate the political discourse. It is essential to acknowledge that everyone has the right to own property. However, the outrage surrounding Albanese's mansion extends beyond the mere act of purchasing a home. The criticism stems from the perception that the Prime Minister, leading a nation grappling with a housing affordability crisis, believes this is an appropriate time to invest in a multi-million-dollar residence. His opponents have been vocal, expressing disbelief at his apparent insensitivity. The Prime Minister's critics have pointed out that under his government, Australians have faced 12 interest rate increases, which have compounded the financial strain on households. They argue that interest rates should be decreasing, as seen in countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and New Zealand. However, due to what they describe as Albanese's poor economic management, inflation remains stubbornly high, leading to sustained elevated interest rates in Australia. In response to the backlash, Albanese has stood firm, asserting that he understands the challenges many Australians face. He has shared personal anecdotes from his own life, recalling his upbringing in public housing. He emphasized his commitment to helping all Australians secure a roof over their heads, stating, "I want to help all Australians get into homes." Recently, Albanese announced his engagement to Jodie Hayden, a proud resident of the Central Coast. He spoke about the importance of family and community, noting, "When your relationship changes, your life changes, and you make decisions." Despite these personal sentiments, the contrast between his life and that of struggling Australians is stark. Albanese has promised to prioritize increased investment in public and social housing, but critics are quick to point out the irony of his situation. While Albanese's government has established a $10 billion fund aimed at promoting social and affordable housing, progress has been slow. Much of this stagnation can be attributed to opposition from the Greens and independent members of Parliament who argue that the government's housing policies are overly ambitious and ineffective. Greens MP Max Chandler-Mather has been particularly outspoken, highlighting the irony of Albanese's extravagant purchase amidst a housing crisis. He argues that this decision underscores the urgent need for housing reform and stronger rental protections. Moreover, Senator Jane Hume from the Liberal Party has criticized the timing of the purchase, labeling it as tone-deaf. Despite facing criticism from multiple fronts, Albanese appears unfazed, still enjoying the luxury of his new home. He acknowledged in a recent statement, "I am much better off as a Prime Minister. I earn a good income, and I understand that I have been fortunate. But I also know what it's like to struggle." Albanese's mother lived in public housing for 65 years, and he often cites this background when discussing his commitment to addressing housing issues. He reiterates his desire to help Australians secure homes, whether through public housing, private rentals, or homeownership. Yet, his critics remain skeptical, questioning how genuine his intentions are while he resides in such opulence. Adding to the controversy, data reveals that a significant percentage of Australian politicians do not share the same struggles as their constituents. Approximately 95% of federal members of parliament own at least 2 properties, with 1/3 owning 3 or more. This stark contrast highlights a troubling disconnect between lawmakers and the average citizen, who often find it challenging to save for a home deposit. Albanese's clifftop mansion serves as a glaring symbol of this disparity and raises important questions about his leadership during a time of crisis. While he positions himself as a champion for the housing needs of Australians, the optics of his recent purchase suggest a public relations disaster. The backlash he faces may prove to be more politically damaging than he anticipated. As the nation moves closer to the election, the discourse surrounding housing affordability and living costs will undoubtedly intensify. Albanese must navigate this challenging landscape while addressing the growing frustrations of everyday Australians. The stakes are high, and how he manages this situation may define his leadership in the months to come. In conclusion, while Prime Minister Albanese seeks to promote policies aimed at improving housing access, his recent clifftop mansion purchase has sparked significant controversy. As the nation continues to confront a housing crisis, the Prime Minister's actions will be scrutinized, and his commitment to addressing these pressing issues will be put to the test.